Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel English Rise. If you want to improve your English listening and speaking skills, and if you want to build real fluency in a calm, natural way, you are in the right place. Here, we don't rush. We don't memorize random phrases. We don't chase motivation. We build fluency through habits. If you enjoy learning English through deep, meaningful storytelling, consider subscribing to English Rise. Now let's begin. Part 1. Why most people never become fluent in English. Most people believe fluency comes from talent. They think some people are good at languages and others are not. This belief is comfortable because it removes responsibility. But the truth is simpler and harder. Most people never become fluent because they rely on motivation instead of habits. They study English only when they feel inspired. They practice speaking only when they feel confident. They listen only when they have free time. And free time rarely comes. Fluency is not built in intense moments. It is built in quiet repetition. Part 2. Why daily habits matter more than long study sessions. A 2-hour study session once a week feels productive. But it does not train your brain for fluency. Fluency requires familiarity. Familiarity comes from frequency. Your brain learns English the same way it learned your native language. Through daily exposure, through repetition, through small, consistent contact. 10 minutes every day is more powerful than 2 hours once a week. Daily habits tell your brain, this language is part of my life. Part 3. How your brain actually builds fluency. Your brain does not learn English through rules. Rules help you understand structure. But fluency comes from patterns. When you hear English every day, your brain starts predicting words. You stop translating. You start recognizing. This is why listening is not passive. Every minute you listen to clear English, your brain is working quietly in the background, building connections, strengthening pathways, reducing effort. This process cannot be rushed, but it can be supported with habits. Part 4. The first daily habit. Listen before you speak. Many learners want to speak immediately, but speaking without enough listening creates tension and insecurity. Listening comes first. Every day you should listen to English that is clear, calm, and understandable. Not too fast, not too complex. This trains your ear, and a trained ear builds confident speech. Fluency begins in silence. Part 5. Why consistency feels boring. And why that's good. Daily habits are not exciting. They are repetitive, predictable, sometimes boring. But boredom is a sign of stability. When English becomes boring, it becomes normal. And when it becomes normal, it becomes fluent. Fluency is not dramatic. It is natural. Part 6. The second daily habit. Speaking without pressure. Most English learners associate speaking with fear. Fear of mistakes. Fear of sounding stupid. Fear of not finding the right words. This fear does not come from lack of knowledge. It comes from pressure. Daily speaking habits should remove pressure, not increase it. Speaking does not mean having conversations immediately. It means training your mouth, repeating sentences out loud, reading slowly, imitating pronunciation. When you speak alone, your brain feels safe, and safety is essential for learning. Part 7. How to train your mouth for fluency. Your mouth is a muscle system. If you don't use it, it does not cooperate. Many learners understand English well but struggle to speak. This happens because the mouth is not trained. Daily habits should include slow, deliberate speaking. Not fast, not perfect, just consistent. Over time, your mouth stops resisting English sounds. Speech becomes smoother, more automatic. Part 8. Why reading out loud is a powerful fluency tool. Reading silently helps comprehension. Reading out loud builds fluency. When you read out loud, you combine listening, speaking, and thinking. Your brain hears English. Your mouth produces English. Your eyes follow English structure. This creates strong neural connections. 5 minutes of reading out loud every day can transform your fluency over time. Part 9. The role of simple English in daily practice. Many learners believe harder English means faster progress. This is a mistake. Fluency grows from clarity, not complexity. Simple English allows your brain to relax. Relaxation improves retention. When English feels easy, your brain stays open. Daily habits should feel manageable, not exhausting. Part 10. Why translating slows down your fluency. Translation is natural, but it should not be the final goal. Daily exposure to English slowly reduces translation. You don't force it, you let it fade. When you listen every day, your brain starts understanding meaning directly. This is the moment fluency begins. Part 11. Building a morning habit for English. Morning habits shape the day. A short English routine in the morning signals importance. Even 5 minutes is enough. Listening while preparing breakfast. Reading a short text. Repeating simple phrases. This creates momentum. English becomes part of your identity, not a task. Part 12. Why night practice consolidates fluency. Your brain processes language during sleep. Listening or reading English before bed helps consolidate learning. Not intense study, just calm exposure. Your brain connects patterns quietly. This makes daily habits powerful, even when they feel small. Part 13. How daily English habits rewire your identity. Fluency is not just a language skill. It is an identity shift. Most people see English as something external, a subject, a goal, a future achievement. This distance creates resistance. Daily habits slowly remove that distance. When you listen every day, even briefly, your brain stops seeing English as foreign. It becomes familiar, then normal, then part of you. This is why habits are more powerful than motivation. They change who you believe you are, and identity always controls behavior. Part 14. Why motivation fails and habits survive. Motivation is emotional. Habits are structural. Motivation depends on mood, energy, confidence. Habits depend on design. If your English practice requires high energy, perfect focus, or long free time, it will fail. Daily habits must work on bad days. Days when you are tired. Days when you are busy. Days when you don't feel confident. Fluency is built on imperfect days, not perfect ones. Part 15. How to create habits that don't drain you. Many learners quit because English feels heavy. Too many rules, too many materials, too much pressure. Daily habits should feel light. Short listening sessions. Clear, slow narration. Simple vocabulary used repeatedly. This lowers resistance. When resistance is low, consistency increases. And consistency is what builds fluency. Part 16. Why repeated content is not a waste of time. People often ask, should I listen to new content every day? Not always. Repeating the same content trains depth, not novelty. When you listen again, you notice pronunciation. You recognize structures. You understand without effort. This is how fluency feels. Daily repetition builds automatic understanding. Part 17. How to train your English brain without studying. Not all practice feels like study. Listening while walking. Listening while resting. Listening before sleep. These moments train your brain passively. Passive exposure is not useless. It builds familiarity. And familiarity reduces fear. Fear is the biggest enemy of speaking. Part 18. Why speaking alone is not a sign of weakness. Many people feel strange speaking English alone. They think real practice only happens with others. This belief creates pressure. Speaking alone is powerful. It allows mistakes. It allows pauses. It allows experimentation. Daily speaking habits in private build confidence in public. Part 19. How daily habits turn thinking into speaking. At first, English lives only in your head. You understand, but you hesitate. Daily habits close this gap. Listening feeds the brain. Speaking trains the mouth. Repetition connects both. Over time, thinking and speaking merge. Words appear faster. Sentences flow naturally. This is fluency. Part 20. Why fluency feels slow at first. And why that's normal. Progress in fluency is invisible at the beginning. You don't feel smarter. You don't feel fluent. But your brain is adapting. Like learning to walk, balance comes before speed. Daily habits work silently. Then one day, you understand without translating. And everything changes. Part 21. How daily English habits change the way your brain thinks. When you practice English only sometimes, your brain treats it as an exception, something extra, something optional. But when English becomes a daily habit, your brain reorganizes priorities. Neural pathways strengthen through repetition. Patterns become familiar. Effort decreases. At first, understanding feels slow and heavy. You think before every word, but daily exposure reduces cognitive load. Your brain stops asking, "What does this mean?" and starts recognizing meaning instantly. This shift cannot be forced. It must be earned through consistency. Part 22. Why fluency is built through patience, not speed. Many learners rush. They want to speak fast. They want complex sentences. They want results now. Speed without foundation creates anxiety. Daily habits teach patience. You learn to stay with the language even when progress feels invisible. This patience trains emotional stability. And emotional stability is essential for speaking freely. Fluency is calm, not rushed, not tense, not forced. Part 23. How to design an English routine that fits real life. Real life is messy. Some days are busy, some days are exhausting, some days feel impossible. Your English routine must survive real life. This means flexibility, short sessions, clear materials, low mental effort. Daily habits succeed because they respect human limits. You don't need more discipline. You need better design. Part 24. Why small daily actions beat intense study. Intense study creates burnout. Small actions create momentum. Listening for 5 minutes every day keeps English active in your mind. Speaking for 3 minutes keeps your mouth trained. These small actions accumulate. Over months, they transform your fluency. This is slow power. Part 25. How daily habits remove the fear of speaking. Fear comes from unfamiliarity. Daily habits create familiarity. When English is part of your routine, your nervous system relaxes. Speaking stops feeling dangerous. Mistakes stop feeling fatal. You stop performing and start communicating. This is when real fluency begins. Part 26. Why fluency is a side effect, not a goal. When you chase fluency directly, you create pressure. When you focus on habits, fluency appears naturally. Habits build exposure. Exposure builds familiarity. Familiarity builds confidence. Confidence builds fluency. This chain cannot be skipped. Part 27. How daily habits turn English into a part of who you are. At some point, English stops feeling like study. It becomes something you do naturally. You listen without thinking. You speak without fear. This is not magic. It is the result of showing up every day, even briefly. Identity changes through repetition, and fluency follows identity. Part 28. How daily habits slowly eliminate mental translation. One of the biggest frustrations for English learners is mental translation. You hear English. Your brain switches to your native language, then switches back. This creates delay, and delay creates insecurity. Daily habits reduce this naturally. When your brain hears the same structures every day, it stops translating. Not because you force it, but because translation becomes unnecessary. Meaning is recognized instantly. This is not a sudden breakthrough. It is a gradual fading, and habits are what allow that fading to happen. Part 29. Why your environment matters more than willpower. Many learners blame themselves. They think, I'm lazy, I'm inconsistent, I lack discipline. In reality, their environment is working against them. If English is not visible in your daily life, your brain forgets it exists. Daily habits change environment. English becomes something you see, hear, and touch every day. This removes the need for willpower. You don't force English into your life. You place it there. Part 30. How to use listening as the core of fluency. Listening is the foundation. Speaking grows from listening. Pronunciation grows from listening. Confidence grows from listening. Daily listening trains rhythm, intonation, and flow. You learn how English moves. This is something books cannot teach. Listening every day creates an internal model of the language, and that model guides your speech automatically. Part 31. Why understanding is more important than answering. Many learners want to respond quickly, but fluency does not come from speed. It comes from clarity. Daily habits teach you to sit with understanding. You listen fully. You absorb meaning. You allow silence. This calm processing creates stronger mental connections. Fast answers without understanding create fragile fluency. Part 32. How daily habits build emotional comfort with English. Language is emotional. If English makes you anxious, your brain resists it. Daily habits normalize English emotionally. You stop associating it with tests, pressure, or judgment. English becomes neutral, then pleasant, then familiar. This emotional shift is essential. Fluency cannot grow in fear. Part 33. Why most people quit right before progress appears. Progress in language is delayed. You invest time now and see results later. This delay discourages many learners. Daily habits keep you moving even when results are invisible. They protect you from quitting too early. Most fluency breakthroughs happen quietly, after long periods of consistency. Part 34. How English becomes automatic through routine. At first, English requires effort. Later, it requires attention. Eventually, it requires presence. Daily habits move you through these stages. One day you realize you are not thinking about English anymore. You are just using it. This is automation, and automation is fluency. Part 35. Why daily habits are a lifelong advantage. Fluency is not a finish line. It is a state you maintain. Daily habits ensure you never lose connection with the language. Even short exposure keeps pathways active. This makes English a lifelong skill, not a temporary achievement. Part 36. How daily habits turn fluency into a natural state. When English is part of your daily life, fluency stops being something you chase. It becomes something you live. You no longer think in terms of studying English. You think in terms of exposure. Listening becomes normal. Speaking becomes familiar. Understanding becomes automatic. This is the moment when effort disappears. Not because you stopped trying, but because your brain no longer resists. Daily habits remove friction, and fluency grows where there is no resistance. Part 37. Why confidence emerges after action, not before. Many learners wait to feel confident before speaking, but confidence is not the starting point. It is the result. Daily habits force gentle action. You speak a little, even without confidence. You listen a little, even without certainty. And slowly, confidence appears. Not as excitement, but as calm. Calm is the real sign of fluency. Part 38. How daily English habits create long-term freedom. Fluency gives freedom. Freedom to express ideas. Freedom to connect with people. Freedom to access information. Daily habits protect that freedom. They prevent regression. They maintain clarity. This is why fluency is not built in bursts. It is built in rhythm. Part 39. Why you don't need talent to be fluent. Talent is overrated. Consistency is underrated. Every fluent speaker was once a beginner. The difference is not intelligence, it is exposure. Daily exposure compounds, and compound growth is unstoppable. Part 40. Final reflection. English fluency is not created by force. It is created by presence. Showing up daily, listening calmly, speaking without pressure. These small habits build something strong, something stable, something lasting. If you want to improve your English listening and speaking skills in a calm and natural way, and if you enjoy learning through deep, meaningful stories, subscribe to English Rise. Here, you build English fluency through daily habits, clear listening, and consistent practice. Thank you for being here. And remember, fluency is not built in a day. It is built every day.